I sent your prompt, Susie. There you go.
Hi there. I'm just doing a voice and camera check.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's my sound. I need to turn it up, but your sound sounds a little faint to me.
Kimberly, if you're talking to me, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay. It's probably my sound not turned up enough or something. That's okay. I'll speak up. Can you hear me okay now?
You're super quiet.
Really?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I've got my volume all the way up as well.
Let me see if I can adjust my volume. Hang on a sec. Yeah, it's up pretty far. Maybe I'll switch the sound over. I've got headphones on right now. As long as my fur babies stay quiet.
Dogs don't bark.
That's what I'm scared of. That's why I went for the headset.
Is that better?
It's still pretty quiet. I don't know why.
Huh. Yeah, it is. You're quiet when I try to listen to you too.
That's odd. Okay. There's very few people refer to me as being quiet. What else do we have on this meeting? Oh, Jess. Will
Okay.
you promote Jess and let's hear her talk?
Yeah. Just a sec here. I put my headphones back and turned the sound up on the headphones themselves. Is that better?
No, you're still pretty quiet.
Oh,
You guys sound fine to me.
Oh, you sound really quiet to me too. That's just me. I mean, I've got my volume cranked now too.
how do I sound to you, Jess?
You sound fine.
Okay, good.
Oh, you know what? I just unplugged my headphones, and you guys got much louder.
Oh yeah, you got much louder too.
Are we still having a headphone problem?
No, I'm not using my headphones tonight.
I'm just wondering if I need to, I know lots of people have been having headphone issues and I could check in with Joseph again.
Mine are fine. They work fine. I just don't like to wear them because they hurt my ears after a little while. Only when I'm desperate.
Okay, I'm gonna put the opening slide back now that I got my sound squared away.
Bye.
All right, we have just a few minutes before our meeting is going to get started here. And I want to just let all of our attendees know this is the webinar version of Zoom. And so all of our attendees will remain off camera. We can enable speaking as needed. And so I want to invite anybody who is part of our applicant team to raise your hand and we can go ahead and get a sound check done. So first up, I have Brett Cordenbrock from Quadriga. I'm going to send a prompt.
Hello, this is Brett with Quadriga.
Sounds good, Brett. I don't know if I said Brett or Brad. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sounds good. Thanks. And if you want to go ahead and keep yourself muted while the meeting is going, then we won't have to go through that exchange each time. Next up, we have Peter Stanley.
Hi, this is Peter from Arcologics.
Thank you, Peter. Sounds great.
We should have several more from the applicant side. I don't know if maybe they're just not on yet.
Yeah, we have a few attendees. I'm not sure if who all is part of the applicant team, but anybody is certainly welcome to raise their hand if they want to do a sound check. While we have a few minutes going here. Okay, so we have Board Member Birch here on our call. I'm going to go ahead and send you a prompt so we can do a sound check.
Great.
Thank you.
You got it.
Well, Kimberly, it looks like we're at 5 o'clock. Are we good to go?
I think so.
So, hello, everybody. My name is Susie Murray, and I'll be acting as the zoning administrator for tonight's meeting. Before I call it to order, I'm going to read a little blurb here, but for those of you watching, you may want to grab a pencil and paper. And the reason I say that is that if you have comments to make, you're going to need the information that I'm going to read out loud here. And I would suggest that you write it down just in case there are technical issues, which there often are. And that way you'll be able to join us by phone. If you're listening by phone, you already know all this information. So congratulations. So pursuant to Government Code Section 54953E and the recommendation of the Health Officer of Sonoma County, the zoning administrator will be participating in this meeting via Zoom webinar. Members of the public can participate virtually. And this is the important information. If you need to call in, the toll-free number is 877-853-5257. And the meeting ID code is 816-1816-5428. Public accessing the meeting through Zoom can provide comments during the public comment periods. Additional information related to meeting participation is also available at our website. The meeting will be live streamed, and you can also view it on YouTube. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 5:02 on July 11th. The first order of business is the statement of purpose. So I'm going to read a little blurb for you, another one. The zoning administrator is appointed by the Director of Planning and Economic Development and is authorized to conduct public meetings and to take action on discretionary applications. A decision made by the zoning administrator may be appealed to the Design Review Board, Cultural Heritage Board, Planning Commission, or City Council as applicable to the decision. The appeal period is a 10 calendar day period following the meeting. If the 10th day falls on a weekend or a holiday, a non-working day, it will extend to the next business day. The appeal period for any decisions being made this evening will be July 21st, 2022. I believe that's a Thursday. So that is going to take us to our scheduled item. So the scheduled item this evening is a public hearing. It's design review for 556 Ross Street. Background on this is it involves the demolition of an existing parking lot facility and construction of an 8-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial space, 118 residential units above, and an internal parking and internal parking at the corner of Ross Street and Mendocino Avenue. City file number DR21-039. And the presenting planner is our Deputy Director, Jessica Jones. Take it away.
Okay, can you see my PowerPoint? Let's see, I guess I need to put it into a presentation mode here. All right.
You are good to go.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Let's see, I need to get to my notes. Give me one moment here. Let's see. Hold on, I'm having technical difficulties. Give me a moment. Am I still sharing?
Yes, you're still sharing and you just went to unpresentation mode.
Unpresentation mode, okay. Hold on. I apologize.
Don't worry.
Okay, this is not working like I thought it would. Okay, how about that? Is that working?
That's perfect.
Excellent, okay. Figure this out one of these days. Okay. Thank you, Zoning Administrator Murray. My name is Jessica Jones. I am the Deputy Director of our Planning Division, and I will be filling in tonight for the project planner, Christine Tumians, who is currently out on leave. So the item before you this afternoon is a minor design review for the Ross Street development, which is located at 556 Ross Street in downtown, just north of Railroad Square. So the project includes a request to construct an 8-story mixed-use building at the corner of Mendocino Avenue and Ross Street, which is across Ross Street from the former Press Democrat building. The project includes a proposal for 118 multifamily residential units. The sizes of those units will range from 394 square feet to 963 square feet. Those will include a mix of studio units, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom, and the mix includes 68 studio units, 37 1-bedroom units, and 13 2-bedroom units. The ground floor of the building will include a 585 square foot retail cafe space and a 2,580 square foot daycare space. There will also be 9 vehicle parking spaces and 40 bicycle parking spaces. The applicant is requesting a floor area ratio, or FAR, of 6.6, which is below the maximum that's allowed in this area. The maximum allowed by our general plan is a floor area of 8 for this site. I do want to note that there is an error on the resolution that is before you, and that is in, excuse me, the first finding in that resolution, which is related to general plan consistency. It mentions that the maximum FAR for this site is 6, and that the addition of the applicant is requesting an FAR of 6.6. And so that is 0.6 over what is stated in that resolution. And the resolution talks about using the city's density bonus program to allow that additional FAR of 0.6 because they're adding the daycare space. However, because the maximum FAR for this site is actually 8, this project is within the maximum allowed. It's below at 6, as I mentioned. So that language needs to be modified to simply state that the proposed project is requesting 6, that the maximum is 8, and that it is consistent with the general plan. And then just to close out the project description, the project does include a number of amenities, which includes a gym, bike storage, ground floor outdoor patio space, as well as a shared rooftop terrace. So this is an aerial view of the site and the surrounding area, and the site is shown with the yellow star on it. So again, it's at the corner of Ross Street and Mendocino Avenue. And then this is a closer up aerial view. As you can see, the site is currently developed with a surface parking lot. So as I mentioned, the general plan land use for this site does allow the maximum FAR of 8. The general plan land use designation is core mixed use, which is intended to foster a vital mix of residential, retail, office, governmental, entertainment, cultural, educational, and hotel uses to activate the greater Courthouse Square area and key transit corridors within the city. The principal objectives for the designation are to strengthen the role of this area as a business, governmental, retail, and entertainment hub for the region, and accommodate a significant new residential development that will extend the hours of activity and create and build a built-in market for retail, service, and entertainment uses. And then this map is showing that FAR that I mentioned a couple times. And so the proposed project is again located where the yellow star is. And this is in this kind of darker, I guess kind of a dark purple in this image here. But it's again at this maximum FAR of 8. So the proposed development will introduce new residents and services in close proximity to high frequency transit service at the downtown SMART station and the city's city bus system with multiple stops nearby. And this furthers the goals of transit use in our downtown stationary specific plan and beyond. The zoning district for this site is core mixed use, which is consistent with the core mixed use general plan land use designation. It also includes a station area overlay because it is within the boundaries of the downtown station area specific plan. And that is designated to help foster a mix of residential and non-residential uses to activate the greater Old Courthouse Square area and our key transit corridors. So the project, in addition to being in the downtown stationary specific plan, is also in one of the city's priority development areas, or PDAs. The zoning code allows for reduced review authority or review by the zoning administrator rather than the design review board for multifamily projects that are located within one of the city's PDAs. Prior to zoning administrator review and action, these projects are required to receive conceptual design review by our design review board. And those comments are then provided to the applicant so that they can make any revisions necessary, and then also provided to the zoning administrator. So the comments that were provided by the design review board during concept design review for this project, which was held on September 17th of 2020, are listed here on this slide. I'm not going to go into depth on those. We do have the vice chair of our design review board, Michael Birch, here tonight or this afternoon to go over the comments that were provided by the board. But I do want to go quickly over some of the changes that the applicant has made in response to those comments. And that is shown here on this slide here. So the applicant has made a number of revisions, and those include providing a 3-foot setback at Mendocino Avenue, and the retail, childcare, and residential lobby were maximized in this project. Multiple sustainability features were included, and they were aimed at energy and water savings, reduction in local heat island effect, and providing healthy indoor air quality. And then the applicant has provided a shadow sunlight study as requested, and Juliet balcony shades were added at the living areas. So this is the materials board for the project. The wall finish is a white and gray stucco, gray painted metal, and gray thin brick. Clear laminated glazing will be added for the Juliet guardrails, and wood panel will be added at the Juliet soffit and window access, and the street level glazing frames. These next two slides show renderings of the proposed building. And we do have the applicant who is here who would like to show a slightly updated version of the rendering, which we'll do during their presentation. But this view that you're seeing here is of the corner of Mendocino Avenue and Ross Street with the cafe at the corner. And then this rendering is a view from Mendocino Avenue, and you can see the former Press Democrat building in the background across Ross Street. This is the landscape plan for the shared patio on the ground floor. And then this is a section and an elevation of that space, which is also referred to as a grotto in the proposed plans. Then this is the floor plan showing the rooftop terrace landscaping. And then we've got the basement floor plan. This is the ground floor plan, shows the daycare at the northeast corner, this large area here. And then these next two slides are the building elevations. This is the south and east elevations, and then the west and north elevations. So the project was reviewed for compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, and was found to be statutorily exempt per section 15182 in that the project is consistent with the downtown stationary specific plan subsequent program environmental impact report, or EIR. And a consistency checklist was prepared and provided as an attachment on the agenda for tonight's meeting. The project was also found to qualify for a class 32 exemption under CEQA, which is the infill development exemption. So with that, the Planning and Economic Development Department recommends that the zoning administrator approve the minor design review permit for 556 Ross Street. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. We also have several members of city staff here to help answer any questions, as well as the applicant team. And then, as mentioned, we have our design review board vice chair, Birch, who is here also to go over the design review board comments that were provided.
I think what I'd like first is I'm hoping that the applicant has a presentation, or do they?
We don't have a formal presentation, but I do want to go over some of the changes that Jessica referred to. Yes.
Good, good.
So
Why don't you go ahead and do that? My questions are actually quite limited on the project, but I am aware that we're going to be seeing a new rendering, and I'm curious about that.
So, Peter, do you want me to put that up now?
yeah, can I share my screen, or does it go through you? Is it possible for me to share?
That's an excellent question, and I don't know the answer to that.
I think he's allowed to.
Yeah, Kimberly, can we allow Peter to share his screen?
If that's okay with everybody, that's totally fine. It's not something we've traditionally done, but that's fine.
Yep.
So Peter, I'm going to send you a prompt, and in order to be able to share your screen, you'll need to answer the prompt.
Okay.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Sure.
We can see it.
I'm unmuted now. Okay. So this was the original south elevation rendering that was included in the package. And so I will say that as we have been going through sort of this entitlement period, we've also been digging pretty deeply into the building itself and the maintenance and operations of that building. So as we did that, we were looking at exterior maintenance systems that could be used. So that's window cleaning systems and ways in which you can sort of move on the exterior side of the building. And there is the system that we use and what is used on all mid and high-rise buildings is there's a davit arm system. It's like a stanchion that attaches to the top of the roof. And it has an arm that swings out over the exterior of the building, and it has platforms on them that can be elevated up and down the face of the building, allowing you to wash fixed windows and to actually maintain any things that you need to on the exterior of the building. So as we started working with consultants, we were told that it's virtually impossible to put that davit arm system with this sort of gabled system that you have there on the parapet. You can see on the east elevation, we don't have that. So this east elevation had the squared off parapet. But as we moved around to the south side, we were essentially told that system won't work anymore. So we wouldn't have been able to install it. So I'm going to show you. So are you seeing this now? This is a new elevation of essentially from the corner of Mendocino and Riley. And so what we did was that existing east elevation here that had the squared off parapet, we just continued that around to the south side. That now allows us to install this maintenance and operations system on the roof and allows us to move up and down the face of the building to do any maintenance and cleaning that needs to be done. In terms of the materials, this corner, if we look at this from sort of a comparison, the corner material remains the same. And what happens as we move further west down is in order to sort of break up and give some interest, a little more interest to that elevation, we just carried this metal siding piece around to that south elevation. So we didn't introduce any new materials. We just mixed and matched them a little bit differently on the south elevation. And that allows us to sort of keep the continuity of the materials, all the windows, all the, the placement of windows, balconies, everything else remains the same. This was simply a change that was made in order to accommodate a maintenance and operation problem that we had. And so that's the extent of what we're changing. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, Susie, having to do with anything else that maybe come up because of that.
You already answered one of them because it looked like there was a material change as well, but
Yeah.
and I actually I guess I just like these renderings better. If there was a material change, I think it looks nice.
We think it's actually a real good improvement as well. And then we can also maintain our building now, so.
And I wouldn't have that job for the world, person who gets to go up and down the side of that building. I have a question. I'm wondering if you can tell me, kind of explain how that downtown or that downstairs area, the common area, and like childcare drop off or, emergency vehicles and what have you, how that works. Can you just talk me through that?
So are you seeing this?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so the daycare sits back in this area here, and I don't know if this. So this is maybe a little better. So Mendocino and Riley. And so the daycare sits in this portion of the building right here, sort of this northeast section of the building. And this outdoor space is part of the daycare facility. So cars would come up to the front, drop off their kids, and they'd come right into the front entrance here. This corner is where there might be a coffee shop, a cafe, small cafe. This is the little 500 square foot area here. So the idea is that daycare drop off would occur along Mendocino, right along this little section here, not along the Riley Street.
Is it Riley or Ross?
Ross, sorry.
That's okay. No, I was just trying to get my bearings there.
Yeah, sorry. It's Ross Street, of course.
Okay.
So
the outdoor area then is okay, across the way. I see.
But we also, what we're proposing on this Ross Street elevation is to, make these wider sidewalks that are in the downtown plan and to create outdoor space there. So spill out space from a potential cafe, coffee shop. Obviously, we're not going to have spill out space from the daycare. That's obviously has to be secured. So that outdoor space is this area in the back here in this northwest corner of the building.
And will that outdoor space be used as part of the daycare as well?
That will all be dedicated to daycare. So under the operating agreement and the licensing, that can't be used by the tenants, which is why we have that outdoor space on the 7th floor, which would be used by tenants. It's an outdoor deck and community space.
I watched the meeting for concept design review, and one of the board members, I don't remember exactly which one, had actually raised the same question I do about the daycare facility, or who it was servicing. And because there are, studio 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units, and there's only 13 2-bedroom units. And with that, there's really only 13 units that are really conducive to family oriented units. So somebody had made the comment that it was going to be open to the public. It was a community, anybody from the community could potentially use the daycare services. Is that still the case?
That is the case, and Pauline Block from Cornerstone is on the call, and if she could be elevated, she can speak more to it because she's the one that's been working with the daycare operator who will be in that space. We've already been selected, so if Pauline could be unmuted, she can speak more in depth to that.
Okay.
Pauline, I'm going to send a prompt and you should be able to get your sound as soon as you answer the prompt.
Hi. Yes, I think if everyone can hear me, I believe I accepted it correctly.
We
Yes.
can hear you.
Wonderful. Thanks. Thanks for having us tonight. Pauline Block with Cornerstone. I have been working with the daycare center. So we put out an RFP and we received, I believe, 5 applicants. And I had a panel consisting of Angie Delanchor from First Five, Raisa De La Rosa from economic development with the city, myself, and Ananda Sweet from the chamber. When we interviewed the panelists, and we came up with a joint decision to work with. Sorry, hope I'm still there. Village Preschool. They have another center in Santa Rosa, and this will be their second center. So we're working directly with them on space design, and they're very knowledgeable about all of the standards that need to be met for a child code.
Do you know how many children you're going to be able to accommodate? I'm just curious. It doesn't.
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't hear that part.
Do you know how many children you'll be able to accommodate?
We're working through that right now. I think currently we're trying to meet, it's 40 to 50. To provide some toddler care, which is a higher ratio of teachers per child.
Mhm.
So we are working on that mix, but childcare and toddler and preschool age children. So with the outdoor space, there are concessions that can childcare. And so we're working through the licensing on that because this is new for Santa Rosa. There's nothing, this downtown childcare, and we'd like to add more to future developments. So we're working through understanding how an urban environment.
Pauline, I'm getting little bits and bobs, but I think what I've gleaned from your cutting in and out there is 40 to 50 students is the goal, children is the goal, and it probably won't be there at first, but you're working towards it, and it's a mix of toddlers and preschool.
Yes, I apologize. I turned my Wi-Fi on, so hopefully this is better.
Okay, don't worry about it. It happens to me all the time. That's why I came into the office for this meeting.
Yeah, so basically what you said is true. We're working through understanding the differences within urban childcare for licensing because there are some concessions that can be made. So obviously to maximize that childcare count. And again, if I didn't come through clearly when I said this is a smaller space as a test, because we'd like to put larger spaces in our additional developments. So we really want to see how we can maximize the space.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do have some operational questions. I noticed our I know we have the downtown parking, no minimum parking requirement, but I would like to hear from Rob Sprinkle about this. So I don't think he's been elevated to a panelist yet, but I wanted to hear his take on the circulation pattern.
Hi, this is Rob. Can you hear me?
You sure can. Hi, Rob.
Hi, great, thanks. As far as the circulation, I don't have any issues with the circulation, the one-way street, the access from Mendocino, and just the overall connectivity for the project. Parking is always something that I have a concern about when it's limited, but this building being using, I think they have their 9 spaces they're using it for, I believe they're for the car share program that they are going to support. And with the amount of bike parking that they're also promoting, I think, and along with, some of the scooters and alternate mobility activities that we're trying to get in the downtown, I think this will be a good test bed to see how this will work for our city. So I'd like to see it move forward and get our feet wet with this type of project.
Do you see any concern with Mendocino being used as the drop-off point for the childcare?
I really don't. Mendocino has been has had a lot less traffic now that Courthouse Square has been closed off. We see under or right about 5,000 vehicles a day, which is, it's not nothing, but in the southbound direction, there's actually less. And that's where this would typically occur, would be the southbound direction, if that's where the drop-off location is. So, and being adjacent to the building, or I don't see that as being it's not going to be a far walk or anything. It should be a fairly quick drop off and pickup. I guess the only potential is, if there is something that creates a lot of waiting and backup, then that would be something that we would have to work with the property owner to mitigate and find alternate locations for that drop off if it does create an issue. But initially, I don't see that being a problem.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that the pickup and drop off was going to be on Mendocino Avenue, and I think that's fine. And I think a typical, drop off, certainly drop off times, I don't think there's a lot of traffic on Mendocino Avenue. At pickup time, there may be more. And so I thank you, Rob. I appreciate your comments very much. And back to the applicant, I would feel more comfortable with that if we just if it gets to the point where you have kind of a bottleneck, that you schedule people for pickup, so they're kind of like every 10 minutes people are coming in. They're only allowed during certain periods. I know downtown that's going to be really difficult, and it's going to be certainly difficult for anybody that's commuting, but just to keep that area clear. And I'm not going to, I don't even know how to write a condition like that, and I write conditions all the time. But as an operating thing, just that we'll need to add something in there that you'll address from an operating standpoint if the problem occurs. And we're not going to be down there monitoring it. We're going to hear about it from the neighbors. So does that work for you, applicant team, Peter?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And of course, we all are wondering how all this is going to work in an urban downtown environment. So I'm sure we're going to be faced with potential obstacles, but we see options even around on Ross Street, because it hardly ever gets used. And, it is a one-way street. And if we had to have some sort of alternate drop off over there, I'm sure we could work something out with the daycare operator and work it out with Rob and in the city so that we have a solution to it. Because the problem that is for you is the same problem for us as an operator and maintaining that, is that if it's creating a problem on Mendocino, it's going to create a problem for us as well. So
yeah, I thought, I don't know why, but I maybe it was just an assumption. I thought the drop off was going to be on Ross. And I'm okay with it. I think it's fine on Mendocino. I we'll just keep an eye on it. I agree. Yeah. This is new to us. So
the only reason that it is on Mendocino is because the entry to the facility is right there, and it makes it a very short move from the car to the front door. And that's the only reason that it's there. We can work around that if we have to, but let's see if we end up with a problem, and then we can solve it.
I agree. So I have to say, coming into this tonight, I was going to ask you to reserve some parking. I know you've got 9 parking spaces, but then you're talking about shared vehicles. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so this is obviously another test for the downtown, especially with no minimum parking requirements anymore. But a block away, we have a parking garage with 740 something spaces in it. And the idea behind the stacker system in there is that we had early on worked with Transform, that does green trip certification, and they work with developers all over the Bay Area to look at alternatives to parking and transportation systems. And what they had told us was that, if you get one shared parking space per, 10 units of housing, that it tends to work, because people tend to want to use, your car sits 95% of the time. So the idea that we would have tenants that are looking for an alternative way of dealing with transportation. As we know, transportation is changing. The bus routes are changing. We have Uber and other gig services around. There's more bicycle parking here. This is geared towards probably a younger crowd that's, you know, probably more receptive to alternative modes of transportation. And so a car share program that has this many in it, that would be for the tenants only, is something that we're testing. We think it's a good idea. We hope it's a good idea. But the worst case scenario is that you're going to be parking in the 7th Street garage, and it's unbundled from our rent. So it's not like when you rent, you get a parking space in the 7th Street garage. That's something you can choose to do or not do. So that's the basic principle behind it. And it has not been tested in Santa Rosa, but here we are.
Oh, I love it. So I have to tell you, I think that shared car is a great concept. I've only seen one other project that never materialized that included that. And I thought it was a great project then, or a great concept then. So I hope it's successful. And I have a comment about the rooftop area. I'm really hoping that once this is constructed, that maybe you guys will put a restaurant up there and it can be like going to the top of the mark. Anyway, so I would, now that we've determined that the floor area ratio is actually, you guys don't have that bonus area, that you actually are right where you need to be as far as our plans are considered. Initially, I was going to ask that we could add a condition, that you'd be okay with a condition that says that the daycare will be open to members or the community and not just the residents of the building. If you're okay with that, I would still like to add that in. I'm not at all concerned about you folks operating it, but in the future, if we need it, I want it to stay kind of available to members of the community. Would that be okay, amenable?
Yeah, I mean, Pauline can weigh in, but that's always been the intention, so.
Absolutely. Yes, we want it to be a community benefit.
Okay, great. Jess, can we go ahead and add that as a condition into the resolution then, that they make that available for members of the community? And I understand if 50% is reserved for occupants of the building and 50% for members of the community. I understand that. I just want to keep a reasonable amount, 50% or greater, available for people outside the building.
Yes,
Because
no
I
problem.
think that's just going to be awesome.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you.
And just a reminder that we also have Vice Chair Birch on.
I also need to open this up for public comment. And before I forget that, I'm going to open it up. Actually, I'm going to open up the public hearing so I can hear from anybody else that may be out there. And I will not forget about Vice Chair Birch. So is there anybody out there that would like to speak? If so, raise your hand. There's a little hand icon at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in, if you hit *9, I think, is that right, Kimberly?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. And we do have one caller.
Okay, if you hit *9, we'll be able to hear you. I don't see any hands. I'm impressed. Okay. Seeing no hands raised, I think I'd love to hear from Vice Chair Birch.
Great, thank you all. Vice Chair Birch from the Design Review Board, and really here to just sort of marshal comments that were made during the Design Review Board preliminary design review hearing, review those against changes that were made to the project and updates. So I want to hit the items that were listed, the Mendocino facade setback on the ground floor to create the 3-foot overhang, and on from there, the Juliet balconies, et cetera, with covering. Those all look great. Those do match up with 90% of the comments that the Design Review Board made in the way of improvements that I think were substantial. One item that was asked and I didn't see anything different, and I'm not sure it dealt with, I believe, mechanical screening from the west side. I'm not sure if the assumption is that another building's going to be there. I saw an elevation that was still fairly open, and I didn't take a close look at a roof plan. So I just thought I would ask the question about mechanical screening. The roof line did change, and I'll address that in just a minute, but I just wanted to see if the applicant would respond to the roof screening comment from design review, or the mechanical screening comment from design review.
So the reason we looked at that, Michael, one of the issues that we have, as you know, on zero lot line development is that anything that hangs over that property line then requires us to set the building back so that, you know, we can fit those in.
Right.
What we're relying on in a lot of this is the window technology that is now available today to cut down on UV exposure and also heat gain. And because this is such a tight site, we just don't have a lot of room to, you know, especially on that west side and definitely on the north side. We just don't have opportunities there to do too much of what the board asked for. It wasn't that we didn't.
Sure.
It wasn't that we didn't think about it. It's just we couldn't find a way to make it work without losing square footage. And this is, as you well know, these buildings are really complicated to make work. So
here I was talking about the mechanical units on the roof and screening from a distance.
Well, you know, there's a parapet now that surrounds this whole top. So yeah, this parapet now is going to screen anything that's on the roofs. Yeah. Oh, I thought it was more about heat gain. So no, sorry.
No, I think, you know, window technology and insulation, things have changed dramatically, and I don't know that we always have to rely on good old canopies and awnings and those sorts of things. So the comment that I did want to make, I think it needs to be addressed because several of the board members commented on the facade very directly, and even the south side in the unique shape. At least one or two comments. I'm going to be real supportive of the change that you made. I think that I understand the reasoning behind it, and it appears to me, from having watched part of the session and having read the minutes, that the overall impression of the facade was not the sort of offset gable on the south side. It was really the variation of materials and planes around the building, and the variety of colors, and the darker grays and the whites. So I'm really comfortable that the spirit of what DRB liked about the building is still there, even with the facade change on the south side. But since it was brought up by a couple of commissioners, I wanted to, board members, I wanted to address it directly. I do think that overall the building is a bit more handsome. And for me personally, I thought that, you know, that offset gable would have been a lot more interesting if it was more expressive than it was, or if it came out in some other way. So I really kind of think that I'm gonna call it the normalization of the top of that wall actually is an improvement. So from a design review standpoint, I will sort of single-handedly share that I feel comfortable that it still meets what the design review board liked about it in the preliminary review. Further, I just want to say that all of those innovative, concepts that you're working on with parking and transportation and having community amenities in the spaces are things that I see and work with all over the Bay Area and the West Coast, in larger cities, denser urban areas that are already sort of have these in them. And so it's really fantastic to see them here, to Susie's point. So would love to see some of these new concepts going to place downtown in Santa Rosa, and see how they work here in our relatively newly hatched urban world that we live in. So great project, and from my end, really comfortable from the design review side.
So first, I want to close the public hearing, which I didn't do, and unfortunately I don't see any hands raised. And second, I want to say, phew, I'm so glad you agree with me, Michael. Means a lot. anyways, I think, I don't have much to add. I think this is a beautiful project. The fact that we don't see a lot of members from the public here kind of tells me, people are quick to let us when they don't like it, let us know when they don't like it, and not as quick to tell us when they do like it. So I think that's a really good sign. And if we don't have anything else, I'd like to go ahead and approve the project with the one and only condition that I added. And if that works for everybody else, it's done.
Works for us.
Yay. Thank you. It's a great project. In my opinion, my
Thank you.
humble opinion.
Thank you so much. We think it's a great project too.
Yeah, I can see why. I want to again say that this action is appealable within 10 calendar days. So if there is anybody that's listening that is opposed to it, you can contact the project planner. In this case, it's Jessica Jones, our deputy director, and she can provide instructions for filing an appeal. That appeal would have to be filed no later than Thursday, the 21st, I believe, the 21st of July. So it's a little over a week away. So thank you very much. And I'm going to adjourn the meeting of the zoning administrator at 5:46 p.m. on July 11th. Thank you, everybody, for attending. I really appreciate it.